SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Hey there, how y'all doing? It's Friday, which means you've got your substitute teacher in today. My name is Scott Sands. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. It's great to be here. Always enjoy the invitation to sit in for Richard or Gerard or whomever on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. Lance, I have been doing radio for, well, let's just say a couple of decades, and I don't believe I have ever used the soap opera Sands of Time going into a show.
Yeah, Days of Our Lives, you know. So.
Days of Our Lives, that's what it was. I couldn't remember what it was. I think maybe you played Days of Our Lives.
I did. I played the Sands of Time, like the Days of Our Lives. I had to play that. I was walking in the building this morning, petting the feral cats, and, you know, it's Friday the 13th. You got the creativity flowing. I said, man, I'm going to play that Days of Our Lives clip. I've had it up waiting for you. Just trying to surprise you.
I honestly, I've never used that, and that was one of the stories that I used to watch when I was homesick from school with my Mima, or during the summer staying with her because she had a pool at her place. So it never even dawned on me to play the Days of Our Lives open into my show.
I'm glad that I surprised you a little bit. You know, you have a lot more history doing this and experience than I. So if I can throw a curveball every now and again and catch you, I appreciate that. Pleasant surprise. I did think about pulling out some of my old Scott in the Morning jingles if I could find them one day. Those things are classic. Radio in Hattiesburg. It's going to be. It's Friday the 13th. Yeah. Hopefully, you've got that theme song ready to go at some point. Of course. I'm going to sneak it in there at some point. Maybe it's one of my favorite horror movie series. Yeah, I mean, but it was kind of it took it to a different level. You had I guess the glove, the burned up face, the kind of Charlie Brown kind of sweater. You know what I mean? You had all the things that were going on with Friday the 13th. That was Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, Friday the 13th. Now, hold on. That's Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th is just the Jason. Yeah, Jason, right, Jason. With the lake and all that. Oh, yeah, that was the original good stuff. Yeah, I'm not a huge horror fan, so my bad on the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street mix up. But I think there was a Freddy versus Jason. There was a Freddy versus Jason, yes. How many were the Friday 13th movies? Were there 5, 6, 7? I can't remember how many. I know they got. There have been at least nine or maybe more. Yeah. And the reason I know that is because I was a part of Friday the 13th Part 7. Wow, how did you pull that off? I was in college at Spring Hill College in Mobile, and they filmed Friday the 13th Part 7 in Baldwin County. Most of it over by Fairhope and Foley and. Dog River, I think. So there's a camp over there. They filmed that, and they needed body doubles to play so they wouldn't have to pay the actors their full day rate on the set because, it's a horror movie. They're not paying these people millions of dollars to be in a slasher film. So they would hire body doubles and use us for staging some of the scenes. And I was a dead body in a couple of the scenes. They wouldn't have to pay the actor their full rate in Friday the 13th Part 7. A great experience. I've had the actor who played Jason in that movie on my show several times, and we talked about the experience that the
the fancy dancy actors got compared to the peons that they brought in to fill the set, because some of these fans of these horror movies,
they're die hard.
They're a little nuts, and they didn't want anybody to know where the filming was taking place, so these crazy horror movie fans wouldn't come out and stalk the set. So they would literally put us on a bus with blacked out windows and drive us to the set.
Wow, that's formal.
And pay us like $50.
You get lunch in the deal or anything?
Got a little sack of lunch. Yeah, there wasn't fancy dancy catering for us, but it was a fun experience in college.
Well, I always wondered what a stand-in was. Seinfeld, you had Mickey, the little guy, and Kramer were stand-ins, for some soap opera or kid story, and I always wondered what a stand-in really was, and that's so you don't have to pay the actors a full rate, I guess, for the whole day when you just need somebody standing there taking up some space and doubling up.
So they could plot out the camera angles and things like that. But I did make it into a scene, and I'll send you. I think I've got that picture saved on my phone somewhere. I'll shoot it to you here in a second.
We can use this. Yes, I'm starting to think about things now.
I mean, you really can't tell it unless you know it's me. You really have no idea. Like I remember I was working at a radio station in where were we? We on the coast at the time. And we did a whole Friday the 13th Part 7 promotion around that, but otherwise nobody would have ever known. But it was a lot of fun.
Jason Voorhees, isn't that his name? Wasn't that the Jason? When you have a last name or a slasher, you're going to be around for a while.
Yeah, and I've been watching those movies from the very beginning, so I know the whole development of Jason's life and how he became.
I remember the first couple
monster.
Yeah, I remember the first couple, but I'm very it's very foggy. I remember there being a lake, and he comes out of the lake or something, and it was some kind of craziness.
After the first 2 or 3, that plot line of the backstory really just does not matter anymore.
Yeah,
it's
got a whole new bag of stuff going.
Camp kids who are just trying to get it on with each other, and then Jason comes out of the woods and kills them all, and nobody gets to.
Yeah, in those slasher films, nobody can run really well. If you've ever, they always trip on something or. They just they're like a janky legs and can't do it, and they're trying so hard.
There's the commercial, I think it's for Geico, where it's a slasher with the chainsaw and the kids run behind a bunch of other chainsaws.
Knives and chainsaws.
Why can't we get in the running car? No, let's go off to the cemetery. And it's exactly the way most of the plot lines of these slasher films go.
The other side of it, you want to tell them, quit looking back. Quit looking back. Just run forward, man. You're gonna run a lot faster. You're not gonna run into that tree.
Otherwise, you're going to trip and fall, and he's going to get you.
He's got you then.
That's the way it always works out. So we're going to lighten things up this hour, but I do want to lead off, Lance, with breaking news overnight. And I didn't get a lot of sleep last night because I am a breaking news junkie. The last several nights, I've been watching live streams from television stations in Los Angeles as that city has burned to the ground with riots over immigration raids in Los Angeles, and that spread to other cities, and there's this whole No Kings rally on Saturday that's planned, including in some cities in Mississippi.
And then you got the Gavin Newsom-Trump battle with the legal teams.
Yeah, that's been a back and forth all night too, but I was watching coverage of Israel's attack on Iran last night, and just a very I'll get into this more later in the show. But I have talked to some of my guys in the military with CIA, DIA ties. I know a couple of people with the Israeli Defense Forces. I sent them a text last night because the story broke around 6:30 or so, 7 o'clock last night. And I got on the phone and said, hey, anybody available to come on last minute to talk about this? And they were all like, yeah, we're going to be a little busy for the next couple of days. Okay, that I understand. I appreciate that. What can you tell me about what's going on? And I do have some interesting information. But as that story broke last night, one of the things I've been watching is the price of oil, which jumped at one point overnight up about 7 or 8% to $77 a barrel. That's almost the highest price increase since we've seen since March of 2022. And the stock futures markets took a major tumble. The Dow was down about 1.5%. S&P and the NASDAQ were down almost 2% at one point. They've started to come back a little bit, kind of hit that algorithmic bottom after a drop of the S&P of about 140 points, a little bit of a rebound today. Gold was up about 1.5% to over $3,400 per ounce. So markets, the financial markets reacting to this attack. The frightening thing about this is oil projected, because of this attack and what's expected to be a prolonged battle between Israel and Iran, oil projected possibly, and we don't know for sure because things change so quickly in the world economy, $121 a barrel, which could send U.S. inflation up to 5% again. We've been able to combat inflation over the last 100, 150 days under the Trump administration, but inflation has that risk of jumping back up to 5% because primarily of the price of oil if it continues to go up. So more on this attack overnight, several different waves of Israeli attacks involving Mossad, the Israeli Special Forces, which had obviously been planning this attack for some time. They had actually built, and I'll tell you what my sources have told me, drone bases inside Iran to launch some of these attacks on nuclear sites, which took out all of the major military commanders, apparently, of the Iranian Revolutionary National Guard. So more on that throughout the morning. We'll watch breaking news, including President Trump's reaction. He's been on Truth Social this morning again, commenting on this attack. Scott Sands in for Richard Cross. It's Mornings with Richard Cross and SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
That's Gavin Newsom coming to get you.
Right. Got a text on the C Spire text line reminding me that before he broke all the rules by dancing, Kevin Bacon was one heck of a Randy Camp counselor in Friday the 13th. Man, he looks so young in that picture that we got on the text line.
Jeez, I forgot about that.
And speaking of from Duckhead to Alligator, did you see the video of the gator swimming on the coast, on the beach of Ocean Springs?
No.
I've not been in those waters in a long time, and I know that there are a lot of alligators around there. But that's a new fear that's been unlocked, is gators swimming in the Mississippi Sound. And I know they're there. They've probably been there forever. But I saw another huge one, so maybe they're hitting the waters more frequently now. Another huge gator that's apparently been off the piers of, I think, Pass Christian or Bay St. Louis.
You never know. All the rain,
the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, it may have stirred them up a little bit too. Got them out searching for stuff. They get hungry. I'm going to go find some fish or a bird or something. Hopefully not a leg, though.
No, let's hope not. Nathan on the C Spire text line letting us know that in Laurel, gas prices jumped 28 cents a gallon overnight. So we may see some of that. If you stopped to get gas this morning, let us know if gas prices have gone up, as I said. And I haven't looked in the last couple of hours, but oil jumped 7-8% overnight to $77 a barrel and probably will continue to climb as the conflict between Iran and Israel continues to escalate. We expect an Iranian response. I believe they may have launched some drones already against Israel this morning. We're watching the latest.
The drone wars.
Yeah, I mean, that's how modern warfare is going to be talked. If you remember, we had a conversation about drone warfare with a drone expert from the Special Forces, Brett Velikovich, last week when I was filling in for Richard. And I think that's the new technology. We saw that with Ukraine's attack on Russia, all done by drones. And the Israeli Special Forces, the Mossad, apparently building drone bases covertly and sneaking. I don't know. As closed a country as Iran is, I don't know how you build a drone base in their country and sneak trucks of drones.
You pay a bunch of people that are anti their administration to help you out.
It's just amazing planning and a long line of planning for Mossad
like the Ukrainians
and the IDF.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Ukrainians getting so deep into Russia. They didn't do that alone. I can't imagine that the Russians as they kept passing the Russian people, they were just getting waves. I mean, somebody helped them, and I imagine there's quite a few Russians that helped the Ukrainians in, and same with the Iranians.
The intelligence that Israel got is that they were days or weeks away, and you can take this with a grain of salt. You can believe it's days, weeks, months, or years away from developing a nuclear weapon, but apparently Israel believed that they were dangerously close and needed to take action now. President Trump had been telling Iran, we got to talk, come to the table honestly to have an open dialogue about your nuclear program. Let's work towards peace. You got 60 days to come to the table and talk to us honestly. Those 60 days passed. Yesterday was day 61. So Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel gave Donald Trump's peace plan and peace offer time to work. Iran didn't want to have that honest dialogue, and they struck to protect themselves. Let's just hope that the U.S. does not get dragged into this, and we'll continue to follow the story all morning. Lance, how's the weather around the state today?
That is a great question, Scott. We got you covered here. Diamond Head, Mississippi, you're going to have a chance of showers and thunderstorms before noon. So the coast, we covered that. Showers likely, possibly a thunderstorm between noon and around 3. So I'm looking for the wet stuff today. Chance of showers after 3, mostly cloudy, high near 88. Light wind, chance of precipitation about 70%. About a quarter to a half inch of rain is possible through the day. Same in the evening, got about a 30% chance. So cut those chances in half down on the coast. And about 76 tonight. So nice little easy evening. A chance of showers, though, tomorrow on the coast as well. And a high about 90 degrees. And get up here in the north part of the state, got Friars Point, Mississippi. Showers and likely possibly a thunderstorm. Low around 71. Chance of precipitation about 70%. So pretty much rain. Showers tonight. So it's just it is what it is. You're going to have some rain throughout the weekend. Again, chance of showers tonight and then again tomorrow. And then when we get over to the Greenwood, Mississippi, 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms today. And tonight, showers and thunderstorms are likely, low around 72. So it won't be very hot, but you got a pretty decent chance of rain through the weekend, pretty much all over the state. And one of the reasons, you got a couple of fronts that are working, one down on the southern part of the state, and then you have that big twister-looking thing up here in the northern Midwest there. So it's just kind of, it's a twisty, that counterclockwise mess that happens with a lot of colors. So, just be careful because it's going to be variable today with rain. Not a lot of wind, though, and pretty average on the temperature, so about 70 in the evening. So it ought to be pleasant if you can sit out on the patio. Well, that about covers it.
George in Biloxi says skeet shooting skills will help when the drone wars start.
Yeah, that was my thinking.
I love to go skeet shooting, but those drones and those clay pigeons are safe every time I've got a shotgun. Really good with my handgun. Don't put a long gun in my hands because I'm not going to hit the side of a barn.
I was curious. Whenever you talk to your people in that field, is it a war where we will have also teams of thousands of hackers trying to hack into this technology
Absolutely.
to minimize its effectiveness? So
absolutely, and I'm sure there are closed networks that are controlling these drones. But as we talked about with Brett Velikovich about the Ukrainian attack on Russia, it was done with artificial intelligence. The drones were programmed, and once they were set loose, they had their mission. And their AI was able to adapt during the mission to find their targets.
That's Terminator stuff there, man.
Yeah, it's frightening. We'll actually talk about artificial intelligence next hour here on Super Talk Mississippi. So I opened my prep sheets this morning to see what was going on today when I woke up, and immediately felt old when I saw Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen turn 39.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there were the Olsen twins on Full House. If you
sharing the role. Yeah, Michelle Tanner. Right.
They're 39 years old today. They were like 2. They were babies when Full House first was on, and even worse, Ali Sheedy.
Yeah,
the Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, War Games. 63 years old. Yeah. She still looks great. I've seen her on a bunch of interviews.
She was in
Hannah
everything.
Storm.
She was in everything back then.
It was the queen of the 80s movies. Hannah Storm, 63 today as well. She's now on ESPN. Tim Allen, 72. The original Captain America from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. is 44.
Good old Chris.
Pat Dennings. I love her. She's 39 from Two Broke Girls, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, the Thor movies. And Dennis, I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, and I'm ashamed of that. Dennis Locarriere. Do you have any idea? Am I anywhere close to that?
You got that, man. I'm going to let you have that one.
Locarriere, I believe. Dennis Locarriere. He was the lead singer of Dr. Hook.
Huh. Okay.
1972.
Now you got
Cover
me.
The Rolling Stone.
Yeah, you've got me on that one. No, I don't remember that one. No.
I don't remember a cover of The Rolling Stone?
You got me. Yeah, I'm stumped. I'm going to have to look that one up.
Pull that up. Let's see if we can find cover of The Rolling Stone. Big song, Dr. Hook.
You see Steve O is 51. I didn't know he was still alive.
I didn't know he would make it through the MTV series.
He's probably bionic by now. Goodness gracious.
Other music notes, 55 years ago, 1970, the Beatles had their final #1 song, The Long and Winding Road. It was 30 years ago, in 1995, that Alanis Morissette released her third album, Jagged Little Pill. So many hits on that album. Hands in My Pocket, Ironic, You Ought to Know. I was playing those songs in Mississippi on the radio. And it was 59 years ago, 1966, that the Miranda case, Miranda v. Arizona, was settled. This is where you have to tell suspects your rights before you're arrested. You have the right to remain silent.
To an attorney.
I would highly encourage anybody arrested to do. Just be quiet. I love watching On Patrol Live and some of those live PD shows. Somebody should tell these people, follow your rights.
Yeah.
Just remain silent, shut up. You don't need to say anything.
Yeah, a lot of people just can't, And hey, don't forget about this one, though. And thank goodness, in 1920, the United States Post Office ruled that children may not be sent by parcel, or you can't send them in the mail.
What happened that required the postal service?
When I read that, I was like, "What? Really?"
To say that children could not be sent by parcel post.
It took to 1920 to figure that one out.
Right. So for like 150 years, you could send kids by mail.
It's like, hey, let me send my wife a letter, and here, take the kid with you.
And how does that even work? Do you just slap a bunch of stamps on your toddler and drop them off at the post office?
That one was one that I laughed about quite a bit when I was reading that.
That is a bizarre one. That's Lance. I'm Scott, and for Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
She's a lady, talking about that little lady, and the lady is mine.
From the Seabrook Pay. Morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Great mama, where you been so long?
You're slipping, Lance. I expected you to come out with Dr. Hook, cover of the Rolling Stone.
I'm going to dig through that. We got a couple hours here, man. So,
yeah, we do have another 2 hours and 15, 20 minutes to
time. So I figured, Hey, I wanted to have a shout out to Sis Drunk Mobile Detailing. His baby girl, Adriana's turning 8 today. What a little beauty. Thank you for sharing that with us. Always love knowing when we have our listeners and those that have birthdays. And also one other shout out, because I was bragging on Nona's the other day in the hamburger. Well, I ran back by yesterday and got a bologna sandwich fried. Man, it was perfect. I don't know if you're a bologna fan, a fried bologna sandwich, but goodness gracious, it was.
I
nap time.
I have been trying to eat healthier for the last year and a half as I lose weight, but. Yeah, a good fried bologna sandwich. Do they do thick cut?
Oh, it was perfect, man.
Good inch thick cut?
Yes, inch thick cut, good and brown, dressed up right. Homemade fries, man, I was in heaven, buddy. Let me tell you. Took Mom some pork chops, too, and she was extremely excited about that. She's a pork chop junkie, so I hope she enjoyed hers. But, yeah, it was great to see those fellas again. Great musicians, too, so wanted to give
what's the name of the place?
Nona's in Pearl. Well, it's kind of right on the edge of Pearl and Brandon, but always love, giving shout-outs to good people out there because they are good folks.
Send me one.
Yeah,
I don't know how you can ship a bologna sandwich, a fried bologna sandwich.
The Bailey brothers will figure it out for us. I know they can do it. So yeah, I'll get you
Put
one.
it on dry ice and then I'll throw it in the air fryer. I'm not sure how that works.
We can do this, man. We can do it.
I did see a story on the SuperTalk.fm website yesterday that this is nothing really to be proud of. Mississippians apparently lead the entire country on fast food purchases.
I believe it, yeah. There's plenty of them to choose from.
And New Mexico see 0.47% of household income going towards takeout options like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, KFC.
Okay.
The most spending in the country on fast food, Mississippi, followed by Kentucky, Arkansas, West Virginia, Louisiana, and Alabama.
Were they able to tell you, like, where? Is it McDonald's or Burger King, or is it just fast food in general? They didn't break it down any further because I was just
they didn't break down.
Yeah.
They didn't break it down by restaurants, but I'm sure those ones that I listed, the McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, KFC, are Taco Bell probably up there as well. Chick-fil-A maybe are probably the biggest ones. Maybe some pizza chains. And this is the alarming reason why, according to the story on the SuperTalk.fm website, the main reason why Mississippi ranks first is that it's got the lowest median monthly household income, because fast food, and this is one of the reasons why this country has become so unhealthy, is fast food. It's cheaper to eat junk than it is to buy healthier options. So even though prices at some of the fast food places are certainly going up in this economy, it's still cheaper to stop in the drive-thru, get a Happy Meal and a burger for your kids than to make them a salad and some grilled chicken.
It's definitely more convenient. I think the prices have definitely gone way up. Since the pandemic, fast food prices have gotten really high, and I know that has a lot to do with the employment issues and things like that, and you got to pass the price down to the end user. But man, for a terrible hamburger, you can really pay a lot of money for it now. And so that's why it was
contributing to the obesity issues, the health issues that come with that down the road. The more fast food you've eaten, and I'm not saying this to brag. I haven't had fast food in a year and a half.
Well, I mean,
I've had a couple of slices of pizza here and there, but that's it.
You said you hadn't had much pizza, but yesterday I was out about $21 or $22. One that was 2 pork chops, rice and gravy, and a homemade mac and cheese with a piece of cornbread, and then I had the fried bologna sandwich and French fries. About $22, I think. So that was handmade. Saw it done from scratch. Right. So. Trying to compare that to fast food prices, I think you would be right there at that with fast food, or maybe even more. So
yeah, probably. So I think by the time you get a couple of,
I think a lot of our smaller and mom and pop type shops are still very competitive with that and better food, better cuisine. And again, not trying to knock the necessity of fast food. I eat it all the time. It's convenient, and I try to go with healthier options, but I fail many times because that menu looks so delicious.
Because it's convenient and it's so good. And I got to tell you, there's nothing better than a McDonald's double cheeseburger. I don't know what they do to their burgers and patties and stuff, but it is addictive. Yeah. But I've noticed that once all of my gut microbes, whatever the doctor tells me it's called, got out of my system, I no longer crave it. And I think once you break that crave, it's almost like an addiction. Once you break that craving, your body starts to crave healthier options. So instead of having ice cream at night, I'll eat some Greek yogurt with blueberries and organic honey. This is something I never thought I would do in my life because I was a fat kid my entire life and took the easy way out. Mm-hmm. But now I want an apple and organic peanut butter as a snack at night instead of ice cream and chocolate. It's weird.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. Well, the College World Series is upon us, and I have 2 things here. I want to let you know who's playing. Because it starts today, and then they've got a couple.
Are you still watching, or did you?
No, man. My teams that I'm going with that I really want to win Murray State and Coastal Carolina in the finals. That's what I'd like to see. I think it'll end up being Arkansas and Oregon State. That's my call. But what I'd really like is to see the mid-major guys that didn't spend a a ton of money and had great coaching, great seasons, played good baseball. I'm anxious to see them play on the bigger field against name brand competition. And
Murray State is such a great story. Their stadium holds 800 people. The coach cuts the grass on the field. How could you not love that story? I'm not a romantic when it comes to baseball, but that's the type of story that could get me to fall in love with baseball.
Hey, man, I like my mom said, she goes, I really like him. He speaks well, and he's very good looking. And so, those things, they do matter if you want to ingratiate, the ladies into the game. You want to have a good-looking coach, one that speaks well. He's very confident.
Right.
And then Coastal has a great story, too. They had a long-time coach. Gilmore had been there. He won it, in 2016? The head coach now had been there with him for a while. And coming in as a first season, you take your team to the College World Series with a 50-plus win season. I mean, it's hard not to like those two teams. If you don't like them, that's fine, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to respect what they've been able to do and where they've gotten. Then you got some big name brands in there, too. It's games like Arizona versus Coastal Carolina. That's going to be a big one today. 2 p.m. ESPN first pitch. Game 2, Oregon State versus Louisville. And another, historic. Louisville's been there so many times. Oregon State, they a back-to-back winner several years ago. So a lot of Arizona seems to be a pretty regular player there. So Coastal will get their shot, and then Sunday's games, you'll have the losers brackets of those. So but it'll be a fun start. Bracket 2 will start tomorrow at 2 p.m. with UCLA and Murray State. It ought to be a really good game. UCLA is one of those types of teams that it's just really a fundamentally sound team. Had a great season. Murray State, though, they should match up well with UCLA. And then you got the marquee matchup with the two SEC teams, Arkansas and LSU. I have a tendency to believe whoever wins that one's going to kind of be in the driver's seat for that side of the bracket. But we'll have to wait and see, and that's why you play them. So they're also
of those two teams, of Arkansas, LSU, because LSU's kind of got the pedigree in the College World Series. How do they look? Well, it seems like you seem to think Arkansas may be the better team.
Well, I think at some point Dave Van Horn punches his ticket and wins the College World Series. He's been there, 100 billion times and hadn't won it. But LSU, on the other hand, extremely talented team. Front end pitching is, when they're on, they're lights out. Same with Arkansas. It ought to be a great game in a big park, where, to me, Arkansas probably stands the advantage because they play a little more station-to-station ball, and LSU depends on the long ball a little more. So we'll see, but both teams are evenly matched, and it'll be a good matchup, especially for the last game of the first round, being on a Saturday, marquee game. So, but there are new menu items if you're making it up there. I doubt there'll be a lot of Mississippians getting there, but usually the menu is a big deal at the College World Series. They're adding a 75th brand burger. The 75th logo will be on the bun. It's a Cubano. We have Omaha grilled steak burger, smoked pork, and they'll add a couple of other things like the Big Island hot dog and some other stuff. So if you're one of those that really enjoys looking at the additions and how the College World Series kind of caters to the fans, it is out there, and they have made those announcements, and so the menu items ought to be cool. And then you got Rocco's, the Jello Shot Challenge. So we'll see who wins that this year. Generally, Ole Miss was Ole Miss.
Wait a minute, that's a thing?
Oh yeah, man, Ole Miss took it to the house in 2022. 2023, I think LSU came back and
who competes in the Jello Shot Challenge of the College World Series?
Everybody. It's a running tally, and
like the teams.
No, the fans. Yeah, the teams.
Oh, okay.
They're playing ball. Let's hope to goodness they aren't over there. Back in my day, we might have found our way over there after the game, but today I think with the phones, I don't believe you can sneak off. Yeah.
I thought it might be like my golf game. The more beers that I have, the more I loosen up and swing better. Maybe the bats work the same way with the Jello shots.
Vita Blue, he would tell you. I think he was the one that took a little, funny paper and pitched on it one time. So I think it was.
I didn't know that was a thing. That shows how little I follow college baseball. But now I feel like I'm invested in the Jello Shot Challenge.
You got to watch. Yeah, it's a big deal, buddy.
Got your Mississippi lottery numbers coming up next, and we'll talk about AI next hour. Plus, we're following breaking news, Israel's preemptive strike on Iran. Latest updates on that throughout the morning on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk Mississippi.
Mississippi lottery numbers. No jackpots in the Lotto America or Powerball big drawings tomorrow night. In Lotto America, the jackpot is $2.1 million with a cash value of $940,000. Wednesday night's numbers, 4, 12, 13, 20, 26, Starball 4, and the All-Star bonus multiplier was 2. The jackpot tomorrow night in the Powerball up to $80 million, cash value $36 million. The numbers from Wednesday night, 13, 25, 29, 37, 53, Powerball 3, and the multiplier was 2. Double play numbers Wednesday night, 4, 29, 37, 48, 56, Powerball 6. Those jackpots will continue to grow until there is a winner, but I could live on a couple million or 80 million or, at this point in my life, a few $1,000s would get me by for a few weeks.
I could deal with like a cool million. I could handle that.
Right.
It wouldn't allow me to retire, but
no.
I could definitely have a lot of fun with that. Well, you're Mega
Million. Some fancy dinners or something.
Buddy, let me tell you, I'd be eating lobster for a week and then look down and go, oh, my bank account's suffering. Get back to the salads or something. But Mega Millions, no jackpot winner yet. You do have a drawing today. Lucky Friday the 13th. Not unlucky. Somebody's going to win today, I bet. $264 million, that's the total. $117.3 million is your take-home pay. The numbers from Tuesday were 10, 11, 14, 38, 45, Mega Ball of 24.
Mississippi match 5, no jackpot there. That's up to $58,000. We had that big winner last week.
2 in a row, yeah. The 1.2, and then 2 days later of 52 or 3 million. I mean, 52 or 3,000, yeah.
Thursday night drawing numbers were 7, 14, 16, 24, 29. You can get in the fast lane with the Mississippi Lottery, too. There are only 2 NASCAR Powerball drawings left. Next drawing is Thursday the 19th. 3 winners each take home $2,000, and all winners qualify for the National NASCAR Powerball Playoff, racing towards a $1 million grand prize. Chance to attend the NASCAR Championship Series. To sign up, you must be a Mississippi Lottery insider and a resident of Mississippi. Just go to mslottery.com to become a Mississippi Lottery insider and automatically receive the entry form and enter any non-winning hot game, the $2 heat stroke, $5 blazing hot bucks, and $10 red hot cash into the lottery's newest bonus promo, Sizzlin' Summer Cash, for your shot at prizes from $500 gift cards to $25,000 in cash. Next bonus drawing Wednesday the 18th. mslottery.com. Just click on bonus promos. There's a tab right there at mslottery.com. Bonus promos. It's got all the information about the hot game non-winning entries there, and you could win bonus prizes from the Mississippi Lottery.
Well, we had a big winner a couple of years ago. Stephanie Walker won the NASCAR Power Playoff and won the big mill, so she got to go out to, I think it was Arizona where that was, but big deal there. So that's a cool game, actually.
So look at all these cash for winners.
It's literally like a honey-do list. Like, do this, do that. Well, that's how many we have here. I mean, a Chicago, Illinois woman, $800. A Canton man, $1,500. A Brandon woman won $1,248. A Vicksburg woman, $2,400 using 3 tickets. Pontotoc woman, $2,500 richer. A Laurel man, $2,600. New Albany man, $2,700. He won up to him. That was a little Price is Right action. Collinsville woman, $2,900 in winnings. A Canton woman, $3,200 using 4 tickets. A Clinton woman, $4,474. Very specific number there. A Laurel woman, $5,000 in winnings. A Pearl man, $5,800 as we keep going here. He used 2 tickets. A West Point woman won $7,700 from Cigar Charlie's. And then a Columbus woman, $10,400 using 3 tickets from 45 Express Mart in Columbus.
3 tickets?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I can afford one.
Right. Well, I can't. Just give me one decent winner on one ticket. I'll be happy. Cash Pop winners from a Georgetown man who won $1,000, and a Hattiesburg woman won $2,500 on a ticket from Be Quick in Hattiesburg. Match 5 winners, a Holly Springs woman won $800. A New Albany man won $820 on a ticket from Raceway Baldwin in Guntown. A Clarksdale woman won $1,000 on a ticket from Double Quick in Clarksdale. I have some Mega Millions winners from Lake Mary, Florida, $2,500. $2 Heat Stroke winner, Tupelo man got $2,000 there from a Blue Sky in Tupelo. $10 Extreme Payday winner, a Hattiesburg woman, $2,500 on a ticket from Maggie's Beer House in Hattiesburg. And players from Aberdeen, Pearl, and Lewin each won $1,000 on tickets from those cities. That's the $20 200X Cash Blitz winners from yesterday. So a lot of winners, especially in the Cash 4. That game seems to be on fire right now. All of the information at mslottery.com. Coming up next, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence with Dr. Alisa Mosley. She's the Senior Director of AI Initiatives at Jackson State. Yesterday, the governor and others announced a huge Mississippi AI Accelerator program that I find fascinating, and really the direction that so many colleges and universities are going. Plus, all of the latest on Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, and we'll take a look at the markets and their reaction this morning as well. Scott Sands in for Richard Cross, along with Lance, here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Your home.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Jackson State University music before our next guest. Scott Sands in for Richard Cross in Super Talk Mississippi. Before she joins us, updates on Israel's preemptive strike against Iran. President Trump is on Truth Social this morning. A couple of updates from him. President Trump posting, "I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it, but no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now." Donald Trump has a way with words. They're all dead now. "And it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all." And he followed that up with, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance." And then Will sent me a text that I missed that said, Donald Trump's quote, "We are hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. There are several people in leadership that will not be coming back." That's one way to put it. The person who retweeted that quote from President Trump said that's a Hall of Fame Trump statement. We'll continue to follow that story throughout the morning here on Super Talk Mississippi. Right now, I'm joined by Dr. Alisa Mosley. She is a professor of business administration, senior director of AI initiatives at Jackson State. Dr. Mosley, it's nice to meet you.
Good morning.
So yesterday, the governor and others announced this Mississippi AI Talent Accelerator program. It's about $9 million in grants for Mississippi colleges to develop AI and machine learning workforce capabilities. I'm excited about this program. I'm a big believer in AI. I use it in my daily life for various clients. But let's just start with a basic primer on what AI is and how people are using artificial intelligence today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be with you this morning. I am really excited about what Governor Reeves announced yesterday. I think it's a game changer. But artificial intelligence has been with us, and people have been working on it since the 1960s, last century. But now it's on our phone. Now it's something that we can look at. But essentially, it's tools that review patterns of information, and from those patterns, answers questions that you may have. And it helps us get to solutions a little faster, helps us be more efficient, and really has changed the game in terms of what people are going to have to know in the next series of workforce challenges for this country to really maintain competitive advantage.
There's a lot of concern that AI will be taking jobs, but really I think it creates more opportunities for people who know how to use AI in their job. I know that with my past employer, I used it to rewrite promotional scripts and give me different ways of saying things. I have used it to optimize my resume. I have some marketing clients I use it for now because I'm horrible with graphics, but I can use ChatGPT and Canva to create graphics for my clients. And now I'm diving into video. And for some of my clients, I'm creating movie-style cinematic video production that would cost thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to traditionally produce. And VO3, Google Gemini's product, is spitting out these video clips in a matter of minutes.
It's really leveled the playing field on what, especially for entrepreneurs, which is a part of our participation in this workforce council that Dr. Napier is chairing, and Dr. Campbell on our campus, VP of Research, is supporting. But I love the fact that we can use it to serve as kind of the coworker we didn't really know about in some ways, that could check what we're doing and look at what we are trying to evaluate. I do use it, and I tell my students, use it with some sense. So, be careful, because there are some hallucinations in there and things can get a little dicey, and it may produce inaccurate solutions. But as I tell anybody, it's all in the prompt. So if you're able to prompt it correctly, it can really benefit you on the work that you're doing and really promote and accelerate your ability to deliver solutions to your clients, just as you say it. So I think yesterday's announcement positions us well for the state to be drivers of innovation, especially in the area of machine learning. So I think this is the right mode, and I'm so happy that our stars are all aligned, and we're working with other colleges and universities to get the work done and to support our state's efforts to be number one in the area of artificial intelligence.
So if we have time, I want to maybe get some suggestions from you on how people who are just dabbling in AI could learn the best way to use prompts for their benefit. But first of all, is there a difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning, or is it essentially the same thing, just a fancier term?
It's essentially the same thing, but what we're relying on, and I think when we hear about AI, we're thinking about the solutions that come from the machine learning. So I would say, machine learning is that back office stuff, is behind the curtain kind of thing. And then what we're looking at with AI, as much as we know it, is much of what we're using on our phones and on our computers to generate the final project. But I love how you're saying, I'm just amazed by what comes out of it when I say, hey, show me a visual depiction of what I've been talking about. And what I normally get is just amazing. And I've written songs on the basis of the findings. If I had to write a song that would go along with what I've said, what would it look like? And it's not Grammy Award winning, but I think it could be a contender if I worked on it hard enough.
I was at a networking club here in town that had a poetry night one night, and I'm not a poet by any means, but you know what? I'm going to jump on stage. I've done stand-up and stuff before. Let me do some poet. And this was in the early days of ChatGPT, and I sent a prompt in to write a couple of poems, within seconds, spit out poems, and people had no idea that I had nothing to do with writing the poem. It was,
and that's
it's a
what
great
I mean,
way to,
that's what's, you know, it helps us enter the space without, and of course, we give all deference to people who do this for a living. This is their work. But for some people like me who want to explore and want to participate, but don't know what it looks like, it's a primer, it's a tutor. I can tell it ask all kinds of questions, and it helps me level up. And then it also makes me look cool in front of my relatives for the holidays.
Well, and so many people are using artificial intelligence to some degree and may not even realize that it's replaced Google search for a lot of people. Although, as you said and rightfully pointed out, sometimes the results may need to be fact checked. But Siri and some of the Google assistants are a form of artificial intelligence. Sometimes when you're on a Facebook page and you're interacting with a business's page, they've got a chatbot there. That's artificial intelligence. So it's really creeping into all of our lives.
As you're talking about chatbots, I do laugh with people because I said when I'm fighting with the chatbot about my seat assignments or, on the airplane or, getting information, I have to remember this is a chatbot. This is not a real person. I think I'm talking to Sandy, who has been working at, American Airlines something for years. But it is a device. It is a solution, which I love the solution, but I do have to remember sometimes that they have no feelings.
Well, I've started asking on some of the customer service websites. I've started to ask, are you a human or are you AI? Just so I know how to input my responses. Dr. Alisa Mosley, she's the Senior Director of Artificial Intelligence Initiatives at Jackson State, and you're getting under this accelerator program $1.3 million to launch the Executive on Roster program in partnership with Millsaps. Can you stick around, Dr. Mosley? I'd love to continue this conversation with you.
Oh, sure thing.
More on AI as Super Talk Mississippi Mornings with Richard Cross continues. I'm Scott Sands.
From the Venable Glass.
Keeping Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm Scott Sands, in for Richard this morning on Super Talk Mississippi. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Dr. Alisa Mosley is a professor of business administration, senior director of AI initiatives at Jackson State. And yesterday, the governor and others announced the Mississippi AI Talent Accelerator Program. And of these millions of dollars that are being allocated to AI in the state now, Jackson State is getting $1.3 million to launch the Executive on Roster program with Millsaps. What is this program all about? What's your objective with this?
Well, I think the primary objective, and this is certainly with the Elf School of Management at Millsaps and also Mississippi College, I believe, will be involved with this. But it is our work to help entrepreneurs acquire some of those ideas that they need to enhance the efficiency. One of the special secret jewels at Jackson State is a concept known as the agency that was purported by the Office of Innovation and Dr. Brittany Myberg in the Department of Art. And it consists of student ambassadors primarily, who work with small businesses to help them with AI tools. So some of the things that you're doing when you're working with your clients, our students are helping entrepreneurs across various kinds of businesses in promoting that. And so we intend to, enhance the experience of those students at Mr. Millsaps and at Mississippi College who will be doing this work. But I think it all goes to how do you learn these tools to help either promote and advance your business or help entrepreneurs get started with business ventures that they have. So it's going to be, like I said, a game changer for our area. We have the Jackson Tech District in town that certainly will benefit with the Bean Path and the Mississippi AI Collaborative that is driving innovation. But I'm excited to see that we are all working together to advance innovation in our state.
Well, what's exciting about this accelerator program for AI, as I'm looking through some of the grants, is how diverse the usage of AI will be at colleges and universities across the state. Alcorn State is getting money to deploy telehealth resources. Mississippi College, AI for lawyers. Mississippi State, data construction management. USM is getting money for robotics and maritime AI. So this is affecting many industries, and every college seems to have a different specialty when it comes to artificial intelligence.
I do. I agree with that. And what I think is very powerful is that this is one instance, and we see it in growing in a trend in our state where colleges and universities are using their superpowers in ways that will benefit not only our universities, but also the communities we serve. And so Dr. Colin Napier, who is the chair of this huge initiative, has been very thoughtful about making sure that we're all at the table, So he has been helping us get resources that we've used to expand what we're doing. And so now it's like everything has led us to this moment. So now we're really ready to do something huge. And Dr. Campbell, who's our vice president for research, kept saying something big is coming, coming. But I had no idea that the state would be investing this level of resources into what we're trying to achieve in AI.
What opportunities, Dr. Mosley, do you see for entrepreneurs? If you belong to any of the AI groups on Facebook, as I do, everybody's got a get-rich-quick scheme. Use AI and you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars, not have to work and retire. All of that is a little bit of spam and scams, but there are opportunities to solve problems that exist and to find solutions that you can use to make money on the side.
Yeah, I think that it helps us get to the solutions quicker. So being able to enter into the industry, I think you still have to do your due diligence. It's hard. It's hard. There are a lot of attempts and some successes along the way. But I think, I was looking at a student that is doing some work in telehealth and has developed an app that will be able to be used in rural Mississippi to, consider, hey, can I take a picture, upload it to a rural clinic and help them get some ideas. And this is technology that will be able to be used by our health providers in ways that may save lives. And so when we're talking to people about this, I think it is, one thing is, of course, is we need more ideas that solve problems. But I think in some ways, people are starting with a baseline knowledge and trying to work their way up to, well, what problem does this even solve? And I think that's where we'll have to get to. But it is exciting to hear some of these entrepreneurs like this gentleman who are thinking about, hey, if you're in rural and can't get to hospitals, all the time, what ways can you still keep in contact with your healthcare provider to solve those problems? So I think those are the kinds of ideas that we're going to see in the state take off. But I think for entrepreneurs who are out there thinking about, how can I use AI today? Well, number one, I think you can, ultimately use it to improve your business, give you ideas about how to brand your business, talk about ways that you might be able, different markets that you may serve. But I think for those who are saying, hey, I'm starting with a blank page, what can I do? I have an interest in providing jingles to somebody in the area. I'm a great ad person. How can I use AI? Then I think you can use it to essentially start your business, but also give you, hey, I got to get a proposal out. Well, AI can help you generate a proposal that you can take to a funder and talk about what you do well. We'll ask you, you can train it to ask you questions so that you will have all the components that you need to have a great, successful business proposal. So
it can help you write a business plan and find opportunities for sure. Dr. Mosley, are there any concerns about the use of AI by students in your classroom? I mean, we've heard so many stories. I think Lance and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Students who are using ChatGPT to turn out their book reports and essays in a matter of seconds.
Right, in 45 seconds or less. But and we do, and that is a question. We do get that a lot from faculty saying, what do? I feel like it's me against the machine. But I think that the question is that we're going to be asked to respond to more and more is, what are we trying to get them to learn? And how can we use ChatGPT to advance that proposition? So say, somebody has to write a book report. Maybe there's an oral assessment that goes along with that book report, in addition to the written piece. Maybe there's some in writing. Maybe there's some discussions among people on the basis of what they've written. Now, I will, share, and I do tell the students, I can tell when you're using AI, and a lot of times it's a C paper, just telling you.
The first thing to do is get rid of the M dashes, because ChatGPT loves the M dashes. I don't know why.
And I think
which has ruined writing for me, because I used M dashes before ChatGPT.
So it kind of, spoils us. And then, the other thing I think it does is it really sterilizes the information. So you can tell the person is not in it. And sometimes you need
there's no
that,
vibe. There's no emotion.
There's no vibe, and I was like, I talk to you every day. This is not you. If you had to really talk to me without this device, what would you say about the work? And so it's thinking about different ways of engaging. So, for faculty, we have a lot of faculty who use it. I think, we have an AI policy around academic integrity kinds of things, but ultimately it's changing the ways, anyone who's still using multiple choice questions at this point is just, they have a lot of faith in the world, I will say. Because a lot of this stuff is already out.
Dr. Alisa Mosley, Senior Director of AI Initiatives at Jackson State. I've got less than a minute here, but for people who are new to AI, we talked about how important the prompt is. Garbage in, garbage out. Quickly, what tips could you give us for people who are diving into AI to craft a better prompt to get the results you want?
Okay, there are three things. The first thing is to use something, a prompt like, assume I am a teacher at, Chastain Middle School, which is no longer there, but assume I'm, number two, say what you're looking for. I am trying to look at an assignment that will help improve literacy for my students in the area of algebra. Okay. Number three is to talk about what the output should look like. Please give me a set of exercises that will help enhance their learning, and I'm targeting this to 7th graders. So make the assumption that you're wanting. Talk about what you wanted to do, and 3, tell it what you want it to look like.
Great tips. Dr. Alisa Mosley of Jackson State, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all. Have a great morning.
From the Seabrook Paint.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
It's the thrill that'll get you when you get your picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone. Wanna see my picture on the cover? Stone. Wanna buy 5 copies for my mother? Stone. Wanna see my smiling
Glad to see you found Dr. Hook, Lance.
Yeah, it was not hard to find.
Birthday. Does the song sound familiar to you now?
I know the song, yeah. I know the song. I just didn't know the band. I know Old Crow Medicine Show. I didn't know these guys. Dr. Hook, I've heard of them. I just didn't. It didn't ring a bell. So y'all got me.
I'm Scott Sands in for Richard Cross this morning, your substitute teacher on SuperTalk Mississippi. Of course, the big story of the day is Operation Rising Lion, which was launched as a preemptive strike by Israel against Iran last night, attacking Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, military infrastructure, senior military commanders, and nuclear scientists. It seems, and this has somewhat been confirmed by Iranian state media, that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's commander-in-chief, senior commander, and possibly their armed forces chief were all killed in this attack, along with several of their top nuclear scientists. Apparently, Israeli intelligence determined that Iran had amassed enough enriched uranium to produce up to 15 nuclear weapons within days, posing an existential threat to Israel. The United States, President Trump had given Iran 60 days to come to the negotiating table in good faith. This was day 61 of that essentially threat to deal with this. And from what we're seeing, although the United States did not directly participate in the actions, they were aware. President Trump was aware of this. And Axios is reporting that Netanyahu and Trump pulled off a great deception as part of the preparation to strike Iran. And if true, it could go down in the history book as a successful attack. Two Israeli officials claimed to Axios that Trump and his aides were only pretending to oppose Israelis' attack in public and did not express opposition in private. One Israeli official said, "We had a clear U.S. green light." The goal, they say, was to convince Iran that no attack was imminent and make sure Iranians on Israel's target list would not move to new locations. Netanyahu's aides even briefed Israeli reporters that Trump had tried to put the brakes on an Israeli strike in a call on Monday, when in reality, the call dealt with coordination ahead of the attack. And as I mentioned earlier, my sources have told me that Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, had set up a drone base inside of Iran. And this is similar to Ukraine's attack on Russia a couple of weeks ago. These unmanned drones were activated overnight to strike surface-to-surface missile launchers aimed at Israel. And the country had spent years preparing for this operation against their nuclear and missile programs, including building that drone base inside Iran, smuggling precision weapons systems and commandos that had been operating inside of Iran for more than a year. According to my source, Mossad agents set up a drone base on Iranian soil near Tehran. The drones were activated, striking those surface-to-surface missile launchers aimed at Israel, and vehicles, large trucks carrying weapons systems, were smuggled into Iran, and the systems took out their air defenses, gave Israeli planes air supremacy and the freedom of action over Iran. I've seen reports that more than 200 Israeli fighter jets were used in this attack. And the third covert effort was Mossad commandos deploying precision missiles near anti-aircraft sites in central Iran. The operations relied on groundbreaking thinking, bold planning, and surgical operation of advanced technologies. This was the text I received. Special forces and agents operating in the heart of Iran were totally evading the eyes of local intelligence, which seems to suggest that Mossad agents knew where these Iranian National Revolutionary Guard officials and nuclear scientists were, and may have painted the targets for precision bombing locations. Lance, this is one of the more interesting stories on how you can tell when there could be a conflict rising. Are you aware of an X account, a Twitter account called the Pentagon Pizza Report?
No. That's a new
one. So this is an actual Twitter account that tracks pizza places and bars around the Washington, D.C. area.
Ah, okay.
And I guess through apps like DoorDash and maybe some of the other sites for delivery, they can tell when there is a surge in traffic. And last night, the Pentagon Pizza Report began to report that pizza deliveries to the Pentagon were surging to record levels.
Volume.
As of 6:59 p.m. Eastern Time, nearly all pizza establishments near the Pentagon have experienced a huge surge in activity. This was moments before the attack became public information. At 7:10 Eastern Time last night, all of the locations had a significant drop in activity. So there's a significant surge that began around 5 o'clock and just dropped off a cliff right after the attacks became public information.
Everybody got their pizzas.
You can see this in real time, because obviously there will be people in the situation rooms following the activity, monitoring it closely. This was also reported on the Pentagon Pizza Report, and you can take this information for what it's worth. Freddy's Beach Bar, the closest gay bar to the Pentagon, has abnormally low traffic for a Thursday night, potentially indicating a busy night at the Pentagon. So it's not just tracking pizza deliveries to the Pentagon, but also area bars.
Yeah.
This
is
is pulling
outed, accidentally.
Right. This is pulling publicly available information from Google Analytics.
Maybe some of these
that's
guys
looking at bars and pizza places and restaurants in the area, and able to. This is a frightening intelligence gathering service for our adversaries.
It's stuff that we've been using in finance for many, many years before it turned into what we call AI. I mean, it's basically like when you play Madden and you go in there and you decide, hey, I really want my guy to be faster and taller and better than the guy that's on the team. So you go into the attributes, which there may be 50 to 60 of them, and you change the guy from an 82 speed to a 92 and so on and so forth. And that's basically humans. We all have attributes, and if you can learn what motivates people, then you can predict their behavior and habits such as ordering pizzas and things like that. Yeah, I mean, that's what you're looking for, to predict people's behavior, what's coming next. So it doesn't surprise me that we have a lot of creative folks out there that have said, yeah, man, they've been using this stuff in game theory and finance for 30, 40 years. Why don't we start using the same concepts to predict all of this other stuff? So I can imagine it'll only get more bizarre and more in-depth.
I mean, if this was somewhat signaled, although the U.S. had been urging Israel publicly not to attack, we also told non-essential embassy personnel, you might want to leave.
Yes.
So that was signaled, I believe, on Tuesday. So there were indications. And then if Iran and their intelligence agencies had been watching this Pentagon Pizza Report, you could see minutes before the attack began, the two closest Domino's locations to the Pentagon, one a 5-minute drive, one an 8-minute drive, saw a spike in deliveries that is almost triple their normal Thursday night 5 p.m. hour business in the Arlington, Virginia area.
They better be careful then, because people are watching. If that information is publicly available, people are sifting through it, and it probably is your adversaries or somebody trying to, kind of gig you a bit. So this kind of stuff is interesting.
This is one of those conflicts that I think most people don't want to see the U.S. dragged into, at least directly. Israel has been fighting a war on 7 fronts for generations against the Houthis, the Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, many other, Syria. You could name their adversaries that they've been fighting and effectively defeating.
Well, and thank goodness most every one of them have terrible militaries and terrible leadership, and so thank goodness, because if they were actually competent and they all got together and said, hey, let's collectively work this equation, it probably would be a lot more difficult for Israel. So thank goodness you have such discombobulation there in the Middle East.
Well, and I saw one analogy on X that compared this attack to taking out the heads of the 5 families in Godfather.
Yeah.
Which is what this did. And the U.S. has direct benefits by delaying their nuclear weaponization, which is something that we have said repeatedly, that Iran could not be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. If you look at all of this, and I look forward to seeing some of the comments on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395, preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon protects us at home. Although with the military parade tomorrow celebrating the Army's anniversary, with these No Kings protests around Mississippi and around the country scheduled for tomorrow, and we know that there are Iranian terror cells operating inside of the U.S. We've seen an attempted assassination on President Trump already. There is that increased danger of a threat to the homeland this weekend that we'll certainly keep an eye on as well. More on this throughout the morning. Certainly the big breaking news story of the day. Stock markets open in 45 minutes. Stocks were down 140 points on the S&P. Oil was above $77 a barrel earlier this morning, so we'll see how the markets react in just a little bit to this news. I'm Scott Sands, in for Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
But I do my best work when the weather's hot. I'm pretty good at drinking beer.
From the Venable Glass Track.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Lord, I wonder what's done got the matter. A child you know inside. It seems like the hours. Now everything will change, but I hold up my hand.
Lance is always coming in strong with the playlist this morning on Super Talk Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross continues. I'm Scott Sands. Lance, I just saw some images of some of these precision strikes in Tehran against some of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard leaders and nuclear scientists. I don't know if you've seen these pictures, but obviously painted with lasers by some of the Mossad special operators that were in country. These missiles are so precision; they're flying into windows.
Yeah, into windows
and exploding.
Yeah. I mean, these things are tight, man. Goodness. See, one of these high rises, it's like, they went right into the exact level and door frame that they wanted to go in.
Which makes you sometimes question some of the civilian casualties that we see in these conflicts, because these precision bombs are certainly available as a weapon.
They had strikes at the Kosar residential complex. I think that's the one I'm looking at. Then you had the Sadatabad, and that's northern Tehran. Fermania, Shamran residential complex is another one. Revolutionary Guard Corps, Narmak, and the Mahalati residential complex. So those are all in the northeastern part of Tehran, up against the mountains, basically. And, yeah, there was 3 residential complexes that were targeted, at least in name. And so there must have been some unsavory characters that were operating in there.
The threat of retaliation, and this has been interesting to watch, as Israel has attacked Iran several times in the last couple of years. Their response time has gotten shorter, from 14 days to less than a week, and now it's been almost 15 hours since the attack. We'll see how quickly they react. Iran was very close, according to Israeli intelligence, of developing at least a suitcase nuclear weapon, perhaps able to put a nuclear warhead on one of their missiles, which, by the way, do have the capability of striking inside the United States and certainly of hitting Israel. They no longer have that nuclear capability. We don't know how quickly they'll be able to reinstate their development programs. But what they do have, and I've talked to overnight some of my friends in Israel who were sheltering in place, were urged to stay near bomb shelters overnight. That's been somewhat relaxed, as no response, no reaction has been given by Iran yet. But they do have these massive bombs. We call some of them bunker busters. They have 2,000-ton capabilities on some of these warheads. So they're not nuclear weapons, but they certainly have mass destructive capabilities. And I've seen some reports that some of their weaponry is capable of 4,000-ton explosions. So that's what Israel will be most concerned about. They have their Iron Dome defense system that can shoot down many of these missiles, many of these drones, as we saw last year, or a year before. Time flies, when Iran sent hundreds of drones to attack Israel, and they were able to shoot down 99% of the drones before they had the opportunity to take out any targets inside Israel. So we'll continue to watch this story over the weekend. And again, warnings have been issued. Threat levels have been increased with the U.S. Army anniversary parade in D.C. this weekend. we have time next hour, I want to talk about that a little bit. I know that there are some Mississippi National Guard troops that will be participating in the parade, but certainly with that event and demonstrations around the country, this No Kings demonstration, which I think is a horrible name for this. It makes just about as much sense as Bernie Sanders and his Fighting Oligarchy tour. I don't know that that's something that resonates with many people, but I've seen some of the No Kings protests that are planned on the coast and in Jackson and maybe some other cities around the state. Florida has an interesting response to the potential for violent protesters in their state. Governor Ron DeSantis has said if you see protesters blocking your path, if you feel like your life is in danger as you're driving around Florida, just run them over. Florida is not going to stand for any nonsense on these No Kings protests. In fact, I don't know if you saw this, Lance, Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey had a pretty ominous warning for people yesterday at a press conference, and he put this out on Twitter, on X as well. Yesterday, the sheriff of Brevard County said, if you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains because we will kill you graveyard dead. We are not going to play.
Well, and he told the citizens, if you're getting mobbed or whatever, run over them. Just run over people and keep moving. Yeah, I threw that question out to our legal team on Monday about what is the liability if you get surrounded, by a bunch of folks trying to rob you. What do you do? What if I just want to push the gas and get out of there? Well, you're okay. You can do that. It's probably the best thing for you.
I mean, at that point, it becomes self-defense. And I conceal carry, as I'm sure many others that are listening to us on Super Talk Mississippi do. If I feel like my life is in danger, I'm going to be prepared to protect myself, whether it mean hitting the accelerator or pulling the weapon. There's no reason. Of course, you also don't want to find yourself in a situation like that either. If you know where these protests are happening, you might want to avoid the area so you don't get caught up in the mess. But hopefully they remain peaceful. The military parade tomorrow will be certainly a huge show that we'll talk about next hour. Also, U.S. Open is happening this weekend. We'll talk to the coach from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. National Championship men's golf team next here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Got a tiger by the tail, it's plain to see. I won't trade much when you get through with me. When I'm losing weight and turning mighty pale.
It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. I'm Scott Sands. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Continuing to get some intel on Israel's preemptive strike against Iran last night. I'm being told that Israel tricked top command of Iran's Air Force into a meeting and then kept them there. I'm told that we did specific activities to help us understand things about them and then use that information to make them act in a specific way. We knew this would make them meet, but more importantly, we knew how to keep them there. So there was a lot of intelligence planning and special operations that went into this attack that it's obviously been in the planning stages for quite a while. We'll continue to track that story throughout the day here on Super Talk Mississippi. Coach Brad Thornton from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is joining me now. U.S. Open is this weekend. I'll be watching a lot of golf, but most importantly, we need to celebrate the Bulldogs' back-to-back national championships. Coach, congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on this morning.
You guys won like 12 tournaments in a row last year, is that right?
Yeah, we won our last 11. First two events, we traveled more on a national level and played some NCAA programs and different levels of competition. But yeah, we've had some really good success these past couple of years in the junior college ranks.
How do you attract all these great players to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College?
Great facilities. The campus it just looks nice. To be honest with you, once we get them on visits down to campus, it's maybe not a lot, but we've had a lot of great success showing off our campus. Our administration does a great job at supporting athletics as a whole, and you just really like to see a good, healthy, competitive environment. And great golf down on the coast, too, as well.
There is, although I have probably lost 100 balls at the Bridges.
Yeah, you're probably not in the minority on that. That's a commonplace for that golf course.
My buddy Darren got me playing golf, and I don't know that I've improved in the last 25 years. I told him when he first took me out to play golf that at some point I'm going to learn how to play and I'm going to beat you, but that day is not going to come yet. I have a horrible swing, although I'm finally able to get my drives past the ladies' tees.
If you'll give me just a second, I'm going to pull up that video you sent so the coach can give us a quick tutorial. Give me about 5 seconds on that.
I think it may have some cussing on that, so you don't want to play the audio.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm working on. Yes, sir. That's trying to.
Yeah, just keep it muted. Yeah, just keep it muted, and we'll be in good shape. So,
but Coach, I love to play
virtual lessons down here.
No, but it's something where you can have a few beers, smoke a cigar, and it's still technically considered a sport.
Yeah, how many people come up to me while we're playing and, joke about having eligibility left. I said, well, it's probably going to be the walking and the not drinking that probably makes you a disqualifier. So that joke doesn't carry too much weight from the majority of people that play around here.
What courses do you like around the state?
Man, we've got some amazing golf courses, top to bottom, realistically. I mean, down here on the coast, we play 7 or 8 different courses, and I tell recruits all the time, it's a mix of places that have hosted, older PGA Tour events, Champions Tour events, USGA qualifiers. Our state am is this coming up week down at the Grand Bear, and then you get into Central Mississippi and into Jackson, and you look at some of the private clubs in Jackson, and Dancing Rabbit up in Philadelphia, and then you get all the way up into the northeast, and you got Waverly and Mossy Oak, and really just some good country clubs throughout the Delta. I mean, I've played them all. It's a good variety, but like you said, you just don't expect some of the venues that you get here in Mississippi, but man, they are top notch on a national scale.
You have competed in and won some tournaments. What's the pressure like in competitive golf? I know the pressure that I'm under when I've got the other 3 guys watching me try to drive or chip onto the green and failing miserably, or the cute cart girl is watching. That's the pressure I feel. What's it like, though, to have a tournament on the line?
Man, it's exhilarating. It's one of the greatest feelings in sports. When you strive to compete at the highest level, whether it's in college tournaments, whether it's some of their amateur events that take place throughout the summers, and obviously up into the professional ranks, and kind of had some experiences in all of those, and it's been a great journey. But coaching, I can tell you this, and parents that watch their kids grow up and play. A really good friend of mine, Kyle Ramey, is a head golf professional at Hattiesburg Country Club, and I was up there at the state junior last week recruiting, and his son was playing in one of the younger age divisions, and he said, "Man, this is worse than playing." And keep in mind, Kyle's played in some national level events, and I said, man, I can't wait for that. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I'm hoping at some point the golf bug kind of catches on to them. But yeah, the stress of watching it or coaching it even can be right on up there with competing. So man, it's just it's a sport where to be able to compete at that level or higher levels on up in age into your 30s, 40s, and even into your 50s, it's a blessing to be able to play it, and competing is right on up there with some of the best feelings that I felt in sports.
Well, and it is a sport you can play at all ages. I've got a buddy of mine who's in his 70s, the Colonel, and I think he hit like 3 holes in one last year, the last year that he played golf, which gives me hope that maybe by the time I'm his age, I will have improved my game. There's so much involved with the sport that as a coach, you're able to teach, where your hand should be, where your feet should be, where the club should be, your swing rate, all things that I have not developed the muscle memory for, as Lance has put up on this.
We got to work on that. We got to work on that balance a little bit.
I think we got a frozen mic here with our guy. But yeah, you saw what we were talking about there, correct? With you had a little quick backswing and a little hook action, it looked like, and maybe even landed it. I'm not sure, but what were you thinking there? What was the takeaway, Coach?
We gotta work on that balance and flexibility a little bit so we can get to all points of the swing, get a little bit more power behind it.
All right, so he played 9 yesterday. He had 2 good holes at the back end. And is there any trick? I'm a golfer. Why is my short game so terrible, but I can hit the ball a long way? I mean, like, what's going on there? What do I need to do to practice to be like you guys that can actually make a 10-foot putt on a regular basis or those types of things? What is the key?
Well, I mean, to me, in going off of the trend of most golfers, it's a lot more fun to go to the driving range and, hit 4 or 5 balls to warm up and then bring the driver out and start swinging it as hard as you can. It takes a little bit of discipline, especially this time of year, to get out on the putting green when it's, 100-degree plus heat index and putt for 30 minutes. It sounds like it's not much physically, but, practicing the short game is not what people want to hear. They want a quick fix. And that's just not the case in this game. It involves just getting out there and.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. As a guy that coaches this every day, I've had some lessons. I can hit it a ways, but when you're practicing your short game, I have spent so much time doing it. Is there what is the mental game you're playing there? Is it, is it visual or is it feel? Is it a little of both? Is it equipment? Is it the kind of ball you use? I mean, because there's so many specifics with golf that little bitty thing throws you off. If I want to practice getting better, I can spend hours on the putting green, but I seem to get worse. Is there a trick here that I'm missing?
It's even when I give lessons at certain times, or whether I'm coaching one of the top junior college players in the country and trying to get them to the next level, it really is a lot more simple than people make it out to be. On the driving range, I tell especially our kids, they're so talented to begin with, but you deal with a lot of former athletes playing this game, and a lot of the times just on the range itself, ball position, tempo, and alignment can fix 95% of your problems. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the same thing in putting. You want some type of consistency. You want them to be able to strike the ball in the center of the face every single time. And it just seems like something that maybe goes a little overlooked when you're trying to get, something perfected that comes down to, such small increments. Then, you might want to make sure you're hitting the ball in the center of the face every time. Keeping your head still, keeping your knees still usually leads to a better strike. And you even see the best player in the world, Tiger Woods, put 2 tees down, a little gate drill that you see on every social media post ever. And, that's just stuff that allows golfers to become more consistent.
Well, hey, we have about a minute before we hit the break, and I'm going to ride you out here. But, do you see that any of the gimmicks and the junk and all the things you can buy on TV, does any of that stuff work, or do you just got to go play the game? Scott's back.
There's a real versus feel. Yeah, there's a real versus feel in every type of practice. So a lot of these training aids are phenomenal for small, specific things. But yeah, you just got to get out there. The experience is second to none on being out there and just putting in the work, just like any other sport. May not have the greatest physical taxing, on your body, but at the end of the day, to be perfect at anything in sports is going to take a lot of discipline.
Well, you got
Thanks, Coach. I got hit by lightning, Lance. We'll be back next on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass with 2 locations in Ridgeland on 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive, Crossgates. Locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Taking a final look, traffic is moving smoothly. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. Traffic is brought to you by River Trust Federal Credit Union. Call and take advantage of their limited time share certificate special, a 4.22% annual percentage yield on 30 and 60 months. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Garden Mama here for Lakeland Yard and Garden, asking you, why do we garden anyway? Are you looking for a beautiful retreat where you can get away from it all? Lakeland Yard and Garden is ready to help you with your garden paradise. In addition to being a complete nursery, greenhouse, and garden shop, Lakeland offers patio furnishings including comfortable couches, chairs, tables, and much more. Let the professionals at Mississippi's largest garden center help create a paradise for you to get away from it all. So why do we garden? Because we love it and love the outdoors, and we do love getting away from it all right there in the backyard. Celebrating growing your way and serving all your garden needs since 1980. Listen to your mama now and call 601-939-7304. Visit online at lakelandyardandgarden.com and stop by Lakeland Drive at Airport Road.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
I'm Anna Haygood at Priority One's Gluckstadt location. At Priority One, we're not just a bank, we're a part of your community where we pride ourselves on making local lending decisions. We are here to support your unique financial goals every step of the way, whether it's a personal loan, mortgage, or small business loan. Our checking accounts offer amazing features that cater to your lifestyle. Our doors are open here in Gluckstadt, and we're eager to meet your financial needs. Come on in, let's chat, and make your financial dreams a reality. At Priority One, your success is our priority. Member FDIC.
This is Home Answers Radio, and my guest today is Trey Jackson of Bulldog Construction. Trey, if a business has uneven sidewalks, they're asking for trouble. Would you agree?
Lynn, they are. It's a trip hazard and it needs to be fixed. Our foam technology can level those uneven walks without having to lay down any new concrete. Much easier and more affordable.
Trey, my wife tripped over one of those and skinned her knee up.
She was fortunate. Call Bulldog Construction at 601-853-4242.
This is Brian Haydad with Sports Talk Mississippi, the Magnolia State's #1 sports show. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
For better or worse, I'm back.
Hey, yeah, thanks
Scott
for the
Sanson
effort.
for Richard Cross.
You made me work a little bit. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the coach's critique of my swing.
Got to slow you down a little bit.
Of,
got to slow you down a little bit. Take your time. Get that club head up a little bit higher, pointing toward the sky. And
look, my swing has improved dramatically over as I've lost 100 pounds. You can imagine my T-Rex arms with a bigger belly.
Yeah, alligator
not being
arms.
able to get my arms around. Right. Now I can have a little bit more emotion, but it's still an ugly, ugly swing, and I know that.
I've seen some ugly swings that absolutely can play golf. So it's not as how pretty the swing is. It's really, like he's saying, is squaring that ball, making sure that the face of the club comes in and strikes it at the right spot. And you're not trying to get in a hurry. You don't want to snap hook everything and get rushed through it. Just kind of finding that tempo, very important.
The video you shared with the coach was a 3-wood in the fairway. It landed on the green, but can I admit something that would get me kicked off of most golf courses?
What you got?
I tee up the ball on the fairway when I'm using a 3 or 5 wood.
That's okay. Yeah.
It's fine.
You can do that. It's okay. But yeah,
I'm the guy invited to play in a scramble because I'm a decent putter, so I'll usually lead off the putts.
Well, yeah, that's my problem is not necessarily up and down. Getting to the green, and I'm really good around the green. It's when I get on it, and there's a 30-footer, or a 20-footer or something, and that seems to ruin my day most of the time. I can 20 putt it just like the best of them. I wish it was more Bugs Bunny golf where you could just create the little valley and put it into the little channel and it goes right where you want it, but it doesn't work that way for me. And the
COVID era golf where you had the foam things.
That's good.
to reduce the spread of COVID, let's not reach your hand into the hole to pick up your ball. That made no sense. But there were a lot of pars during the COVID era, I believe.
Sure, and a lot
Did
of
you guys
gimmies.
talk about the U.S. Open at all, which is this weekend? I'll be watching a lot of golf this weekend with the guys, I'm sure.
I didn't. I was really selfish in that interview. I was wondering why my putting is so bad. If there were any tricks to the trade and other things that average golfers like me can get out and shave off 4 or 5 strokes in your game, because it's usually the putting that gets you. So
it's all about practice. It's all about practice.
I've been playing since I was 10. No, I don't need a lecture on practice. I need a lecture on what am I doing wrong in practice? As my dad would always tell me, son, perfect practice makes perfect. Well, you're right.
That'll cost you $100 an hour. If you want to improve, there is a cost. It's time and money. That's usually the solution
I live
for
across
everything.
the street from a golf course. So I know everybody up there. I can go putt for 4 hours and eat a club sandwich and a couple beers, and my game is still the same as far as putting. So that's just the way it is, I guess. You gotta know your limitations in this world, and mine is the putting green.
Mine would be golf.
Just in general.
Mine would be the entire sport itself. This weekend, tomorrow, it's the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, and President Trump has a huge military parade set for tomorrow at a cost of $45 million. Lance, what are your thoughts on, and there are, I think, 300 Mississippi National Guard troops that will be in the parade tomorrow. I think this is going to be a grand experience, and I think it shows, especially with the timing and the threat of an Iranian retaliation against U.S., I think it's important sometimes to show your colors, to fly the flag, and show that we do have the greatest military on this planet, and we will not stand for any attack from any foreign adversary. We will defend ourselves. But the images that this could portray, I don't know what message this sends. I don't know, as we're talking about cuts to spending, that putting $45 million on this is a good use of money, but I'm very excited to see the tanks down the street, and I'm sure there will be planes, and to really honor the members of our armed forces and our U.S. Army
that happen all the time,
are sacrificing their lives.
They don't do this all the time, so I'm down with it. These guys and gals, they need to be patted on the back. They need to have the praise. They need to be told how important they are to the security of this country, and in many cases to the security of the world. And like you said, I think it's a good time also. America under Trump has seen a resurgence and a little bit of national pride, I think, a little bit, and maybe some respect.
Well, and the morale in the military,
that's kind of where I'm
from
going.
what we're hearing, has never been higher. I mean, Pete Hegseth, the SecDef, has said that they've reached some of their recruiting goals months ahead of schedule.
That's, again, I think the confidence. You can't say that Hegseth had a lot of experience in that world, but I believe what he's brought to the table is, as you said, an increase in morale. And the folks that are signed up know that they have someone there that is looking out for them, that believes in them, and wants to give them the best of the best. And the only way you can do that is to be efficient.
Somebody who's been a grunt. When you see him out doing PT on the beach with Navy SEALs, it's a great image for the Secretary of Defense.
I think that's amazing, honestly, and I think we need more of that. Practice what you preach, and I think we're getting more of that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, but we have an amazing military, and we have an amazing National Guard, too. You have the two layers. So, you got the civilian army and the guys and gals that go and spend a month, a week in a month in those things, and you got the full-timers. So, it's a diverse world, and I've known quite a few in both sides, the active duty full-timers and the National Guard. And, what can you say negative, really, about people that have the heart and the desire to go out and serve their country and to protect us?
Absolutely nothing you shouldn't.
There's nothing.
But we're seeing so many Democrat members of Congress and liberals who are protesting the military, the National Guard in Los Angeles, to try to prevent rioting and looting and protecting the federal buildings, being completely criticized. The tug of war of the court system over whether or not the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, has the authority. This is a ludicrous question. He certainly has the authority to deploy National Guard troops to protect a federal building in a city that's burning to the ground. And that was challenged in court by Governor Gavin Newsom. Initially, a TRO, a temporary restraining order, said that, no, you can't do that. But then an appeals court a couple of hours later said, yeah, he's He's the commander-in-chief.
Well, and you got
he
to
deploy the National Guard troops.
Isn't there another hearing like Tuesday as well coming up?
I'm sure.
The court system in this
playbook
country
right now is to challenge the president in court and make these activist judges more powerful than Congress and the president.
And I think that's one of the major issues that will have to be dealt with at some point, somehow, some way in this country, are activist judges run amok, doing what they want. And if you look at the legal system, especially the federal judges, and it's a mess. I mean, it is an absolute mess when you can say, well, we'll hear this over here because we know it's a liberal court. It's not how it's supposed to work. And we're seeing that every day, though. And that's got to change. You should not have a lower court making a rule, and then you have to appeal it to another court, and then you have another hearing on this stuff. I mean, let's get it to the right court to begin with. Quit wasting time and money.
Well, and stop shopping it around to a judge that's going to rule favorably for your activist position. This video was viral yesterday as we're talking about Los Angeles. Senator Alex Padilla of California crashed a press conference yesterday by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and has tried to say that he was arrested, he was wrestled to the ground. This is a guy, and if you've seen the video, he was not wearing his congressional ID pin on his suit jacket. He didn't clearly identify himself, and even if he did, I don't know how many people in California would recognize Senator Alex Padilla. He was yelling at Secretary Noem, rushing the podium. Security is going to react. They're not going to let some strange guy yelling at the secretary get close to her. They reacted appropriately. Well,
even if he did have his congressional pin on, there's no excuse for that. Charging and hollering and screaming and approaching someone. Just sit down and shut up, man.
There was even news that came out earlier this morning that apparently Senator Padilla had emailed the secretary a few days prior, earlier this week, saying, your time is up. That sounds to me pretty threatening.
Yeah, again, I mean, why is that okay? And this guy's got a platform and a bunch of sympathy for those types of actions. That's uncalled for. People that support him are just like he is.
As you would expect, the entire incident hit Capitol Hill like somebody was lighting a fuse on a powder keg yesterday. Democrats pushed to the Senate floor to loudly condemn his treatment and pled with the Republicans to speak up. Adam Schiff, is there no line they will not cross? And over on the House, California Democrats held an impromptu news conference. Eric Swalwell saying the brutal attack, I don't know how brutal it was, on Senator Padilla, puts America closer to a failed democracy.
Keep spewing the same thing.
Theater. Senator Padilla was scheduled to be the catcher, the starting catcher in the congressional softball game. Wednesday night? So he left the city, flew to California to stage an obvious political stunt. There's no other explanation for his actions there. To leave a commitment like that, then to fly to California and crash Secretary Noem's press conference, other than to get this kind of attention. Scott Zan's in for Richard Cross. Lance is here as well. We're on SuperTalk Mississippi and streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. Your thoughts on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395.
From the Seabird with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Keeping an eye on the stock market open after last night's Israeli preemptive strike on Iran. The S&P is down 40, NASDAQ down 164, Dow down 456. We'll see how it shakes out when some of this opening volatility settles down a little bit. Not as down as much as it was in overnight trading. Oil prices also above $75 a barrel. We'll keep an eye on that, too. I'm Scott Sands in for Richard Cross. Michelle Pollino, Fox News Radio Entertainment correspondent, is joining us from Hollywood. Michelle, always nice to see you.
Great to see you. Happy Friday.
It is a happy Friday. Sad news this week, though, as Beach Boys founder Brian Wilson passed away. Just what an amazing artist. I had the opportunity to interview Brian Wilson and Mike Love a few years ago and talk about the contributions that they made to music and the amazing Pet Sounds album, which was just a landmark music project.
It was an extraordinary album from a genius of a man, a giant in the music industry whose influence has, spread across generations and affected every great musician you know. Like the Beatles were so affected by Pet Sounds that created Strawberry Fields Forever. Strawberry Fields Forever influenced Pink Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon. Brian Wilson's genius, it was the infectious competitive kind, the kind where somebody like Paul McCartney said to one of his songs on I'm trying to think of it. It's not In My Room. It's the beautiful other ballad on Pet Sounds. He said it's the greatest song he's ever heard in his entire life. We will miss this man. He was a giant among giants. He was a troubled soul who was able to somehow find compassion for himself, and it came out in his music, and it was beautiful.
What other artist has produced new music and toured for literally 7 decades? I just saw them last summer, and I've seen them on the coast a dozen times. Their legacy will be with us forever. I mean, that style of music just doesn't exist anymore. Nobody's putting out songs about surfing that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe the ska era for a brief period of time, but nobody's putting out surf music, and you can't help but be happy when you're listening to Little Deuce Coupe.
You're right. Little Deuce Coupe, Fun, Barbara Ann, Help Me Rhonda, like all these songs were, in many ways, in Brian's world, were about the joy of growing up in Hawthorne, California, which is where he grew up. And it exuded the innocence of that time and the joy of just finding freedom in childhood, finding freedom on the beach, riding the waves, chasing girls. It was the ultimate California sound.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be happy talking about and listening to music about cars, girls, the beach, and hanging out with your buddies? I mean, it's everything that's right with America. The Beach Boys are America.
Yes, yeah. And so many people, of course, will miss them. Carney Wilson put out a statement yesterday. Carney, of course, Brian Wilson's daughter. She said, "My father was every fiber of my being. I've never felt this kind of pain before. I miss you so much already." But I really loved Mike Love's statement. He called Wilson the soul of our sound, saying his melodies and emotions changed music forever. And they did. And this is what I mean by his emotions. They were complex, and he was able to take his complex emotions, and especially in Pet Sounds, and find instruments and put them together in a way that conveyed those emotions. No other musician has done that. Not as far as I can't even think of one. Can you?
No, and the technology that they used on Pet Sounds too was groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah.
Michelle Pollino,
really,
Fox News Radio.
If you can get to see a documentary this weekend on Brian Wilson, on the Beach Boys, do it. You will not be wasting your time.
I'm sure you covered this event. I haven't seen much coverage of it, though. The Kennedy Center event with President Trump, the first under his leadership. Yeah. I mean, I realize that the Kennedy Center has kind of been overshadowed by Los Angeles burning to the ground. You need to get out of that city quickly.
Yeah. I am. Don't worry.
By an attack on Iran, by the big beautiful bill. There's a lot going on that seems to have crowded that out
Scott,
of the
I'm
news.
Leaving.
Get out.
I'm leaving. Next week
out.
I'm going to scout Nashville. Trust me.
Get out of get to God's country. So, how did the event go? Did the performers choose to protest the president at all? What happened?
Yeah, there was some boos. He was met with some boos. He was met with some cheers. He was met with a USA chant. So it was a mixed. There were drag queens showing up. It's funny because people always scream and yell about President Trump being, being this kind of dictator who doesn't allow drag queens or people, he takes away their freedom of speech. You just look at that one event and you can see this conflux of everything that people say he's against. There are drag queens at the show. There's people booing him. And he was there and he basically said, somebody asked them from the New York Post, do you care about these people planning to boycott? And he's like, I could care less. All I do is run the country well. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's classic. No. I mentioned this quote from him earlier, talking about the Israeli strike on Iran and why Iran should come back to the negotiating table. And he had the ultimate Donald Trump quote: "They should come back to the table, although there are people who won't be there this time because they're dead." It's just a classic Donald Trump. It's just classic Donald Trump.
Classic, right? Yeah, you just. I'm sorry. He's an extraordinary human. Extraordinary.
So,
you might love him or hate him. Yeah.
Michelle, we'll talk about some of the new movies opening this weekend and what's on TV other than the U.S. Open and the military parade tomorrow. But I'm most excited about this news. Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman, Mel Brooks, all returning for Spaceballs 2. And we saw the first trailer for this online yesterday.
Yep. Spaceballs was hilarious. Everything that Mel Brooks did was hilarious. I think he's 99 or something, and the guy's still putting out movies. He's extraordinary. I'm glad Rick Moranis is back. I mean, everything about that.
Dark Helmet, was that his character? And Mel Brooks was Yogurt.
Dark Helmet.
And President Scroob. Am I getting that right? It's trying to come back to me.
I think so. John, Daphne Zuniga was in it. I don't know who's coming back. I don't know that. Yeah, 98. He played Yogurt. Mel Brooks played Yogurt. He's 98 years old. I can't even believe that this is coming back. It's just hilarious. It's one of the best spoofs of all time. The original was in 1987. John Candy played this dog.
That's right.
Bill Pullman played the Harrison Ford character. Daphne Zuniga played Princess Leia character. They had to save the planet Druidia.
And don't forget about it. Her husband was Prince Valium. That's who she was having married.
Prince Valium. That's right. Yeah, it's gonna arrive in 2027. We got a year and a half to wait for that one.
The Schwartz Awakens in 2027.
Yes, there it is. May Schwartz be with you.
New movies this weekend. Quickly here, How to Train Your Dragon. It's a live-action movie with Mason Timms as Hiccup.
Yeah, the live-action film. It looks really cute. I have not seen the preview, but I am going to go see the preview for Superman. I just got my invite the other night, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. It looks really cute. Materialists for you rom-com lovers. Dakota Johnson literally taking on her mother's roles from the 1980s. Her mother is, of course, Melanie Griffith, who married Don Johnson, and that's how we got Dakota Johnson. But this is a typical late 1980s, early 90s rom-com. Dakota Johnson plays this matchmaker who really can't commit. She meets this gorgeous, very wealthy man, Pedro Pascal, and at the same time, Chris Evans, her ex, walks into her world. It's written and directed by, written and directed by one of my favorite filmmakers, Celine Song, who did Past Lives. Really great rom-com in theaters. And if anybody's interested...
Michelle, we got to wrap it up here. Great to see you. Love you. We'll talk to you next Friday.
Okay.
Scott Sands
Ciao.
in for Rich.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Some of the volatility in the stock market has settled down, and it looks like it's trying to climb back up from last night's lows after Israel's strike on Iran. The S&P is up about 80 points from its overnight low, but still red across the board. S&P down 45, NASDAQ down 157, and the Dow is now down 550, and there is red across every sector of the heat map. There is some good news as I look at the crude oil prices, which were as high as $77, $78 a barrel overnight. That's now dropped back down to $73, $74 a barrel. But again, there are projections that it could reach as high as $121 a barrel during this conflict, especially the longer it drags out and with Iran's retaliation. And the danger there is that $120 a barrel oil could send inflation up to 5%. So that's not good news and something certainly to keep an eye on as this conflict continues. We've had a wide-ranging show today. We've covered quite a few different things from golf to AI to World War III.
We have one more.
Happen.
We have one more. What are your superstitions since it's Friday the 13th? Do you have anything?
The 13th? I don't know that I have any superstitions.
Really? Okay. I'm an old baseball player. I lived and died by the superstition. You know, you never stepped on a chalk line. You wore the same socks. You didn't. Right. If you won, you didn't wash your jock and all that stuff. You know, you'd get on the equipment guy. No, don't wash that. And he's like, I got this. This is terrible.
I think I would wash my jock. I don't care how many games we've won. I think I'm washing that thing.
Then you have, do you, when a black cat crosses your path, do you do anything, or do you just go, hey, black cat? I
usually go pss, 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 and try to.
You don't exit out. You don't exit
no,
out.
I don't exit out.
I do the exit out. If you pass a graveyard, do you lift your feet up or anything, or hold your breath? You know, good old Southern superstitions.
I have been wearing the same Alabama and tie shirt every year that they play Auburn during the Iron Bowl for the last few years.
Hey, I wore a T-shirt 50 plus days in a row for good luck, and I washed it every other day. But I think that might be why my wife divorced me. You know, she's I can't deal with this.
That's a bit just a tad extreme.
Oh, I'm an OCD crazy person. Gerard knows a little bit. Whenever he comes in and sits down after me, he knows I have to have the studio that he's sitting, it has to be perfect, exactly the same every day.
Yeah, but see, that's not a superstition. That's just a little OCD. I am the same way on some of that stuff.
And then same with
I hate paper. I've got everything. If you're watching on SuperTalk.fm, I don't have
no
papers.
Yeah.
Everything is on a screen in front of me, all of my notes and stuff. So I've got some weird quirks, and I like my office laid out just the right way with my cat Tiger beside me and snoring. And
well, I have like things. I have to do certain things in 4s, and I have to do certain things in 3s. You know, my mind it's on some kind of loop.
It's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Like if I do shampoo in the morning, which I always do, I have to squirt the same amount 4 times. Same amount, or I get upset with myself. You know, I don't know.
That's odd. I'm gonna be
Richard
honest.
says I'm a crazy person, so I was like, I agree with him. I got a little crazy.
I'm not gonna hold it against you. It's just a little odd.
Yeah, I know, man. You know, that's the way it is. So nothing big like that. No big superstitions. Good.
No. Not only is it Friday the 13th, Sunday is Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I was looking at what you're most likely to get. Some of the Google trends on the most searched Father's Day gifts. include personalized socks, golf bags.
Don't do it, yeah.
Dart boards, watches, engraved cutting boards, and of course grills.
No tie in there? Goodness gracious!
I don't see ties listed in the top 10.
There we go. Finally, yeah. Nobody
I will
wants
ask
a tie.
this question, and we'll see what kind of responses we get the next little bit on the C-Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Best TV dad of all time.
Best TV dad? Oh man, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to think. You go first.
I mean, there are obvious classics like Andy Taylor on the Andy Griffith Show and Al Bundy and Married with Children. My favorite, I became
Al
a big
Bundy,
fan
the
of
greatest dad. I love it.
Of Phil Dunphy on Modern Family.
Okay, all right.
You could go with I don't know, some oddballs like Homer Simpson or Herman Munster or Fred Sanford maybe would be on the list.
Fred G, I'd have to go with Fred G just because I grew up listening to him. You dummy, talking about Lamont and Esther and I. So I'll go with Fred G on that.
Tim
Fred
Taylor
G's
from Home Improvement.
Darren, I'm not even mentioning that. That ain't right, man. Come on.
No, he's right. I was going to mention that because there was this list that I pulled up of the greatest TV dads of all time.
Thank you, Chad. Peter Griffin. That's mine.
There was a time where none of these TV dad lists would have been complete without seeing Cliff Huxtable from The Cosby Show at the top of that list. He is conspicuously absent these days from all of the TV dad lists, and with really good reason, too, I should add. That's going to wrap it up for this Friday edition.
We did have
of
Major
Mornings with
Dad in there,
Richard
too.
Cross.
He's a good one. Major Dad.
Major Dad?
Yeah, Major Dad. And then one other thing before we get out of here, flea market, Tupelo Flea Market. That's where you can get last-minute gifts up in that neck of the woods, they say. So
that's a good one. I'll be back Monday for Richard. Andy Gibson will be on with us, Congressman Trent Kelly, and I'm sure there will be more breaking news over the weekend as well. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for the opportunity to sit in here and guest host on Super Talk Mississippi. And Lance, thank you, and Alex and Will and everybody else for all of your help along the way. Find me on X at Scott Sands Media. I'll be back Monday morning.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.